So there's that saying that when men are fleeing war, they bring their families. When they're going to war, they leave their families behind.
Yep.
How accurate is that from what you've witnessed, experienced, and people you've talked to?
The vast majority are military-age males, period. I mean, by far. Now, when you get the, the clown act, the corporate disinformation operations like CNN and Fox and all those clowns, they go down to the Texas border or whatever. They'll put the cameras on the women and children, and they do coming across there. But the ones who come through the Darien, and there are women and children who come through Darien Gap. There's no question about it, because I'm down there all the time. But the vast majority are military-age males. Likewise, over in Ireland, for instance, I get daily updates from Ireland. I went there a couple of years ago.
They're going through something crazy over there right now.
Oh, they're getting prepared to get genocided, I think, in my estimation. I went to Ireland a couple of years ago because I thought, hey, this is going to go badly in Ireland. And now, I was just on with Jim Ferguson. He's a very well-known Scottish sort of journalist. He's very popular over in Europe. And I was just on with him like a couple hours ago. And Jim said now he believes that it's about 2 million invaders in Ireland versus about 3 million Irish. So that's a 2 to 3 ratio there, right?
Yeah, it's like 60-40.
And so, that's 2 million versus 3 million.
Holy
and keep
shit.
in mind, most of those, if that number's accurate, and I did go there and look a couple of years ago, it does. I can't audit that because there's no way I have to audit it, but it does pass the sniff test. In other words, if you go there, you're going to be like, that number could easily be accurate, actually. And what's interesting is those are mostly by far like a far higher ratio of military-age males in Ireland. And keep in mind, so if it's a ratio of 2 to 3, like 2 million to 5 to 3 million, then the Irish, the 3 million Irish, that includes elderly people, women, children, men who would be unable to fight. And I think that my guess is that the invaders already have the Irish outnumbered. Testosterone to testosterone, I'd say they're probably outnumbered at this point. And keeping in mind, the invaders are facilitated. They are the ones that the Guardia, the police and the UN and everybody are supporting. Any Irish, there was 2 fires in about the last 24 hours. I don't know what caused them. They could have been, somebody was cooking in their room, as a lot of these aliens do, and set their place on fire, or it could have been arson. I have no idea. But there were 2 fires at these potential alien centers. But the bottom line is at this point, Ireland conditions are set to go ahead and genocide Ireland if they want to do that, which means run them out, and keep in mind, the Irish, they are actually indigenous people. They are straight up indigenous people, as much as the Navajo Indians, right? I mean, so these people from all over Africa and Asia come over, and the Irish are called racist. What? I mean, they are the actual indigenous people. And so there you go. But they're about to be genocided. That's clear.
I was talking to Mark this morning.
They'll either be run off or killed, or enslaved,
or used as kind of a front, because we were talking about in current times, any peaceful protest is gets hijacked. He just did a podcast with what was his name?
Oh, Michael Perillo, the American Muslim, the white American Muslim, or
no. The one you sent me a J6er.
Oh, Frank Scavo.
Yeah. So as you look at like January 6th, right? How many people are actually patriots? They're in peaceful protest, and then the movement gets hijacked, right? So if you look at like you're talking, it wouldn't take much in Ireland if you have a 2 to 3 ratio, is then you subvert the whole thing to make it look like, like something that it's actually not, but it's orchestrated, at a much higher level.
Yeah, and 4 years ago, me would have thought that this is insane, but then, I don't know, I started reading, and if you look at history, this is the blueprint. You know, so it's not like this isn't crazy talk. Like it's happened before, it'll happen again. And these people have no idea what's coming.
Weapons of mass migration. There's books about it. You know what I mean? There's books about it. I mean, it's like, this is an old war tactic. It goes back since before our great-grandparents were born. It goes back many, many centuries.
So you were talking before, right? War, famine, and human osmotic pressure, right? They always go together. You got
pandemic, famine, and war go together. I mean, this triangle of death, right? And of course, in the Bible, it's the four horsemen, right? And you know, pandemic, famine, and war, and death or despotism, right? And so that's what we're facing. You know, of course, the pandemics have been, obviously, the pandemic is the jab itself. And who knows what's happening now with this monkey thing. I'm not even paying attention. Let's just get past all the R naught and all that crazy stuff and get right to the point where we're not going to take the jab. You know what I mean? Like, this is the thing when you're doing serious information war. The people who are resilient, like we are now, against it, those of us who are resilient against the information war now are 10 times more resilient than we were 4 years ago, right?
Yes.
We're not even entertaining the idea, right? There's other people that are just going to line up and get their shots and die, you know? And so when you have information campaigns like this, historically, people like us, ultimately, they have to kill us, right? And so, because we just become more and more resilient to it, so we're the ones that they'll send to the death camps or just kill us in the streets in some way or fashion. That's how this goes.
So what if we're in Vegas and we're putting bets on your assessment? What would you give the odds, and then what does that look like?
Odds of what?
Of that is what's going to happen in America.
Camps.
Or is it already happening?
It's happening. I mean, seriously, they've already jabbed. How many people do you know that were like big jab pushers who are already dead?
Yeah.
It's
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I mean, it's like every day some other big. I keep telling these jab pushers, like that drug addict guy Scott Adams, who's always, you know, the guy, the cartoon guy, you know, he was a big jab pusher until he realized, hey, this isn't working out so well, and then he became, well, he's still that arrogant, you know,
the Dilbert guy, right? It's the cartoon guy.
Yeah, the Dilbert guy. Yeah, and you know, I keep telling these jab pushers, like Peter Zahan, let's say, the so-called geopolitical strategist, or he's a clown, right? I read his book people kept asking me about Peter Zahan's book on geopolitics and all this. And I read it and I was like, it's ridiculous. The guy doesn't travel much, that's for sure, but he is very busy being gay and doing his jabs all the time. You know what I mean? I mean, he's just one of the wokesters, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm getting to is he's a big jab pusher. He was literally doing a video sniffling and coughing and sneezing and talking about, I think, 5 different jabs he had done. You know what I mean? You can't even make up this stuff.
No, it's mad.
And I just keep saying that if you're a big jab pusher and you think you're pleasing your masters by pushing the jab, but they didn't tell you, because you think you're in their club, but they didn't tell you not to take it. Guess what? There's no seat on the ark for you. Mm-hmm. They didn't plan for you to make it. If they didn't say, hey, Peter, push it for us, we'll pay you a bunch of money. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know why he was doing it, but they push it, but then they still take it. Then, hey, they targeted you too. You're just a useful idiot. Just like these aliens who are being pushed in. The invaders are being pushed in. They're useful idiots. The globalists have no use for them. You know, Trudeau, who thinks he's the prime minister of Canada, he's just a condom for the globalists. They'll dispose of him when they're done with him, right? And the same with Harris, the same with Biden, and the same with Trump, right? Trump still sticks with that jab, right? And it's the same with and it drives the Trump people crazy when I say that, and they'll go, well, who do you want, Biden or Harris? Obviously not, you know, but the bottom line is they're all part of that same architecture. It's the same thing. RFK, he's part of it too. They're all part of the same architecture. And we get that, you know,